In the dynamic world of private LTE networks for utilities, it's all about a collective approach toward grid modernization solutions. Join us alongside leading utilities including Ameren, Evergy, Lower Colorado River Authority, San Diego Gas Electric, and Xcel Energy, who are driving the evolution of utility private wireless networks with Anterix. Together with our 100+ member ecosystem and the Utility Strategic Advisory Board, we're de-risking private LTE investments. We're not just providing solutions. We're pioneering a cleaner, safer, more affordable, and secure energy future through 900 megahertz powered private LTE networks. By joining us, you're part of a force driving innovation, accelerating returns, and future-proofing the entire ecosystem. It's more than spectrum. It's about evolving together. Don't miss out. Embrace the power of collective action, ensuring a sustainable utility private LTE evolution.
To learn more, visit Anterix.com.
Hello again, everyone, and welcome. I am UTC President and CEO Rusty Williams, and thank you for meeting me at The Intersection, sponsored by Anterix. For those of you listening for the first time, welcome to The Intersection. And for those of you that have been through this intersection before, well, welcome back. During this month's episode of The Intersection, we will be discussing the annual transition of power here at UTC as we recently elected the new board chair and other board officers. Today, I'm honored to have with me Kirt Mayson of NorthWestern Energy. Kirt is the immediate past chair of the UTC Board of Directors as elected at our recent Telecom and Technology Conference in Mobile. Also with us today is our new board chair, Gary Von Drasik of JEA. He is the manager of telecom sales and services there. Gentlemen, welcome to The Intersection, and congratulations on your recent appointments as part of the UTC Executive Committee.
Thank you, Rusty, and thanks for inviting us and allowing us to be with you today.
Well, guys, some people listening to us may not have been involved in the election process and understand how we select officers for the UTC Board of Directors. So let's just take a couple of seconds just to talk through that, just to make sure everybody's kind of on the same level. We rotate every year, and they're elected, the three officers, which is the chair, vice chair, and secretary treasurer. They're elected every year at the annual membership meeting, which we hold at the annual Telecom and Technology Conference. This year, that happened on May the 23rd, which, as we're recording this, was last week. And each officer now is in a new seat. We rotate up from secretary treasurer to vice chair to chair. And then the current chair goes to the immediate past chair position. So you guys are in different seats, along with our new executive committee member, Steve Legal of WEC Energy Group, who is the new secretary treasurer. So through the process there, the explanation, guys, Kirt, Gary, did I leave anything out or mess anything up through that explanation?
Nothing that I've seen or heard there, Rusty. I just will also like to say hello, everyone, again, and thank you for joining us here at The Intersection. Rusty, again, thank you for your opening remarks. And Gary, again, congratulations on being the newest board chair for UTC. My congratulations also to Tony Supa, our new vice chair, and to Dr. Steve Legal, our new secretary treasurer. Gary, we've been on a challenging and mission-filled role over the ride over the past few years, and although I've transitioned into my role as immediate past chair, I'll be here to assist you, Tony and Steve, whenever and wherever possible. And again, to our elections, although the terms are 1 year and the continuity and board leadership year to year is of highest importance, and is something that I value professionally and personally. The success of the membership and the association is a trust and a privilege that quite honestly is earned, and one that none of us should take for granted. So yes, thank you again, Rusty. Appreciate the comment.
Oh yeah, Gary, did we do a good job of explaining that?
Yes, I think so, very much so. And again, I'm honored to be serving now as the chair of the UTC board. Kirt, I appreciate everything that you've done as chair, and now look forward to working with you as immediate past chair. Again, as you said, working with Tony Soup, our new vice chair, and Steve Legal with WEC Energy Group. I think we have a great team, and I think with Rusty as our president CEO, I think we have a great year ahead of us and great years or very good years after that. So I think we're looking really good.
Good. I appreciate that. Last week I mentioned that we had our annual UTC Telecom Technology Conference in Mobile, Alabama. It was a busy week for us, as it always is during the annual conference. There's always something going on from the time you start. And this year we started on Sunday afternoon with some strategic planning meetings, and then went through board meetings and educational sessions and events and expos and all of that. And then add on all the networking opportunities. Now that we've got the chance to get home, rest up a little bit after that full week of fun, Gary, when you look back at the week, what do you remember? What kind of stands out to you when you look back at our conference last week?
Well, it was a busy week from Saturday when we first arrived all the way to Friday. But I think there were so many things that really stuck out. I think looking at our strategic plan and beginning the week that way, and then kind of looking to build upon that. But the venue, the city, the attendees, I think we're all extremely happy with things. The sessions were very good. Heard a lot of great feedback from the participants, both the utility members and the associate members, the vendors. So it was a great week.
Kirt, when you look back, you were the outgoing chair, so you were moderating a lot of what was going on and involved in a lot of things. Any one thing stand out to you from the week?
Again, much like Gary's response, to this, there were several things that really stood out. First and foremost, I really want to thank the city of Mobile and Alabama. And for those of you listening here that have not been or are looking for some place to go, I highly suggest that you look into it and put it on your bucket list, if you will, because it's a beautiful city with a lot of great history and a even heavier dose of Southern charm. So it's really a fantastic city. The associate members and the exhibitions and everything were top notch. The educational sessions were even more. And again, it was an honor to address the association membership via the speaking engagements and the meetings and the long day and everything that Gary mentioned in reflection. But seeing old friends, young and not so young, was fantastic. And then forging new friendships is always a highlight.
Yeah, I had a lot of people as we were going in, the prep time, the weeks, months prior, that had never been to Mobile. And they, knowing that I was from Alabama, I got a lot of questions and comments about, I don't know about Mobile, why Mobile? And a lot of times my answer to them was, trust me, once you get there, like you gentlemen have just described, you'll be pleasantly surprised. And as you guys said, it did not disappoint for sure. Kirt, let me ask you a question or two. This, past year, as you were the board chair, that came to an end in Mobile. And anytime we bring some part of our lives, professionally or personally to an end, it gives us a chance to kind of stop and have a retrospective moment, right? Let's kind of think back over the time, the year that, you were the board chair here at UTC. When you think back over that year, what kind of stands out to you the most for your experience in that role?
Yeah, well, thank you for that question there, Rusty. Yeah, my year as chair of UTC was one of, for me, some new challenges. Challenges that, a few in my position really never expect, but are aware that it could be part of the job. And not everyone in the business world has the opportunity, let alone the responsibility, to hire a CEO for an organization. So when faced with that responsibility, I drew upon my 35 plus years experience as an engineer with a heavy dose of project management skills. And in full transparency, I did leverage some individuals who were involved with the past president and CEO search committees to listen, learn, and form an action plan, and with some pretty aggressive milestones. The folks, again, that I handpicked to be on this committee were top notch, and all that were asked said yes. And they too felt this was a keystone moment for UTC. And my thanks to those individuals again. As I mentioned in my address to the members, my goal was to leave the association better than when I found it. I believe I succeeded in achieving that goal with the assistance from and the great guidance of the board and the EC members. I do know, however, that the success is not for me to judge, but rather and appropriately the association and the entire membership. You all have the final word on that success.
Yeah, you know what? many board chair type positions have the opportunity to select a CEO or lead the process to select a new CEO. And maybe that's one of those things you hope you don't do, because as you described, it's a lot of work and effort and a lot of people involved. But I don't want to sound too self-serving here sitting in this chair now, but you guys did follow a very prescribed and rigorous process, and had every intention of doing the best job possible, whether it was yourself or the other officers or the other members of the committee. So you were able to do that in the time that you set out to do it, which was, I think was very, any of the accolades that come with that is deserving, but that's just part of the job, for us, whether you're serving in the utility, serving here, you got to do what you got to do, but you guys did a good job of that. And I like what you said about, trying to leave the organization better than you found it. That's, many of us don't stop and think about that kind of thing, but I think through the work you and the executive committee's done over the past year, you move the organization forward in several different ways, and I appreciate that. But when you think of what you've done, not just as the chair of the board, but the time as an officer, part of the executive committee, and even just in UTC general, but I want to talk specifically the last 3 years as you were involved in the executive committee. What kind of benefit do you think your company, NorthWestern Energy, has gotten by you being involved in this? A lot of times we don't think about our companies, getting the benefit in us providing some kind of volunteer role here in an organization like UTC's. What do you think about that? Do you think your company has benefited from you being involved?
Absolutely. And again, thank you for that question, Rusty. There's a lot of tangible benefits on this. First and foremost, a lot of people don't know I'm not a frontline leader within my organization, but I went through a leadership class here where I was able to put those skills and so forth and what I learned during that into action. I've done a lot of project management, and leading people. So leadership is not entirely out of my wheelhouse, but it's not my everyday wheelhouse. But NorthWestern benefited from me being a part of UTC to hone and refine the public speaking, get the education down, and more importantly, form relationships and with both the core and associate members to benefit me, which benefits the organization at the end of the day.
Yeah, when you think that, and I look back, I've been involved in a long time in UTC, and you see people that have developed as individuals through their experiences at UTC, that obviously benefits your company as you described. But then the exposure the company gets and information flows and all these things, I think there is benefit. It's not just a give here from our host utilities that allow us to do this, but there's value there for them as well. So let me make the transition here then, Gary, and let's talk to you for just a minute. By the way, welcome. Glad you're here. Congratulations on your new part-time job for the coming 12 months. But you've been serving as an officer for a couple of years now as part of the executive committee, so this isn't completely new for you. But being chair is different. So what do you think about the differences in now that you're in the chair position, right? You're the leader, you're seen as that now when the members look at you. How is that different for you now personally and for the organization as we go into this new year?
Well, I think Rusty, being the board chair does, the visibility, the heightened responsibility, the fiduciary responsibility for the organization is definitely up a few notches for sure, right? Again, working with or being on the executive committee for the last few years and working with Kirt and prior and upcoming leadership individuals, we I think have great business organizational continuity. But yeah, it definitely is the I won't say the face of UTC, because maybe you as the president CEO, maybe more the face. But again, in the role being UTC's representative, inside and outside, it definitely is a an important and role that I am truly honored to have. So I look forward to it.
Yeah, and what you guys had started prior to me coming on at the beginning of the year, I think is really beneficial. The idea of rotating jobs every year is always a challenge, right? I've always been an advocate from a leadership perspective is when you get into a new position, it takes you at least 18 months to figure out what you're doing, right? You have to go through a cycle of, budgeting and project management and, HR issues, performance management, all those kind of things. And rotating every 12 months is a bit of a challenge, but you guys had started having weekly phone calls with the entire executive committee. And so that everybody kind of sees and hears and can talk together. Kirt, talk to me a little bit about that. As that started over the last 2 or 3 years, or whenever it started prior to me. So I'm not exactly sure when you guys did start having that, but why did that kind of happen? And what do you think's the benefit of doing that?
So it really, I'm going to pay homage to our now immediate past chair, Mr. Dewey Day, for starting that. When we were transitioning from the previous full-time administration to the interim president and CEO, it was important to establish continuity and transparency amongst the leadership, so we had visibility of what was going on. Realizing that at the end of the year, Mr. Beck had other commitments, and we had a rather accelerated time frame to be very deliberate and fair about the process what eventually led to you. So, I'm all about, we're all scattered across the country. We're all scattered across different time zones, and it's important to stay cohesive and transparent with one another, and it only drives the success of the organization going forward.
Yeah, I like that idea. Again, with this rotation on an annual basis, you're not starting cold every year when the new chair comes into the position. All right, Gary, back to you. So I jokingly refer to this as your new part-time job. Now you're moving into the chair position, but this isn't, if we do it right, this isn't really a hobby for us, right? I mean, this is something that really matters. I mean, this organization impacts not just some individuals, but it could impact an entire industry, right? And when we're in a position a year from now or 10 years from now, looking back, we've left a legacy. So when you think about looking forward into your year, we talked about Kirt looking backwards. When you look forward into your year, what's some of the key things, key issues, key objectives you may have for this year?
So I think at a higher level, what you kind of describing is really what UTC has stood for, and I think what we're trying to refocus efforts on, right? The engagement with our members and associate members, the advocacy, and really being the voice of the technology, the critical infrastructure providers, the voice for them as far as technology and telecom needs. But from a more inward standpoint, I think this year we probably need to focus again with some of the things over the last few years and changes in leadership, the transparency of the organization, building, if there's any trust that needs to be rebuilt with folks as far as who we are and what we stand for and what we're trying to accomplish. And then also just the engagement and involvement of members and new members, gaining new members. So we are a very important organization. We celebrated our 75th anniversary. We're looking and pushing towards the new march towards 100, as we talked at the annual conference about. So I mean, I think UTC again is more important than ever with everything going on, the changes in technology, the legislative and advocacy standpoint, cybersecurity. The list kind of goes on, but UTC is right there, and I think will be and is, or will be strengthened as far as that voice of the industry.
Yeah, and quite honestly, with the new CEO, whoever that person might be, it's an opportunity to kind of relook at what you're doing. But when you look back over the last 4 years, with starting in 2020 with the COVID, when COVID shut the world down, and organizations like this suffered, significantly because you stopped, meeting in person and going to conferences and all those kind of things. And since that time, there's been some challenging issues the organization has worked its way through. So I think with new leadership like you two gentlemen, and having a new CEO, it's a great opportunity. And I think we mentioned earlier that we started the week last week in Mobile with a strategic planning session. All right, we're looking forward into this. I kind of loosely refer to as the new era of UTC. We're looking for ways to provide even more value back to the members, whether it's utility members or it's the associate members or the industry as a whole. So I think we had a great conversation that day. I don't know if you guys agree or not. I'll let you kind of chime in. Some of the conversations, I mean, we talked for 3 hours that day with a room full of 25-ish people representing the industry, and had some really great open dialogue about, what we think UTC can become. I don't know if you guys have got any thoughts about that particular session and looking forward or not.
Sure. Thanks, Rusty. Having participated in this over the last 3 years, and being responsible for it, in the vice chair position, one of the things that I really look back on and reflect on with our strategic planning sessions is, number one, Robin Cumroat, the gal that puts it on, does a spectacular job. And we've had her year over year. So we've had that, again, I'll refer to cohesiveness year over year to build upon the great plans that she and her team put forward to our board for, adoption and discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Gary, you got any comments? Yeah.
I thought it was very good. Again, and we're going to have some additional meetings and fine tune the strategic plan and look to vote on it at the August board meeting. And we're going to tie financial metrics to it. But no, it's very good. And I think there were a lot of things, some things that kind of popped out that really weren't even, they were just things that were somewhat unexpected as far as some thoughts that people had on a number of different things. So it's very good. I think it really helps us. Again, we're at a point with Rusty, you as new president, CEO, that we can refocus and really make strides this coming year and in the years after.
Yeah, and for those that weren't involved in that particular meeting, it wasn't just take the old one off, dust it off, change the date, and stick it back on the shelf. This was truly, let's tear it apart, figure out, make sure we're stating what it is we want to do as an organization, and then start lining everything else up after that. So I was pleased with that process as well. Well, from my perspective, as we look into the coming year, I see great things coming for the organization, and because of people, like yourselves, Gary and Kirt, and the other two members of the executive committee, Steve and Tony, it's an honor for me to kind of serve this organization and the industry for that matter. But you guys, coming out of the utility industry, we have a different mentality, right? It's about service. It's about keeping the lights on, and it's about doing what you got to do, right, to meet the objectives. And that carries over, in organizations like this. And I appreciate that. Appreciate your commitment, involvement, concern, and your willingness to do things the right way. So I appreciate that. Any closing comments from you guys as we wind down this episode? Gary, let's start with you.
Yeah, thank you. Again, I'm very honored to be serving as the UTC board chair this year. And again, I want to thank Kirt Mayson as our outgoing board chair for all his hard work and efforts this past year. And I look forward to building upon his accomplishments this year. I'm also look forward to, I'm very optimistic for UTC this year. We have a lot of positive things going on with our new president and CEO, Rusty Williams, who's now in the driver's seat, our great UTC staff, and we've received a lot of great comments and feedback from the annual conference in Mobile just recently. So a lot of positive things, and I'm very optimistic for this year. And I look forward to building the engagement and involvement with the membership, and I plan to attend a large number of the regional meetings. So I look forward to engaging and meeting all of our members, and just continuing to push UTC forward and meeting our members' needs, and just looking forward to advancing UTC and what it stands for.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot
Kurt?
about commitment, involvement, and
words?
doing things the right way. And those are just part of the values that I preach and I practice every day. I'm very excited for your service, Rusty, and very excited for those of the newly elected EC leadership, executive committee leadership. UTC is on a stable, focused, and exciting path, a path that I see growth in membership through engagement and advocacy. And with that, I'll close with this. To the entire UTC membership, the board of directors, and especially the UTC staff, you all put your trust in me to carry the organization forward into year 76 and towards the march to 100. I thank you for that honor and that privilege to serve. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that, Kurt. And thank you both for what you do and the leadership you exhibit every day as a part of this organization. I know my job's a lot easier because of people like you that are willing to come and be a part of the leadership team. Well, as we wrap up this episode of The Intersection, sponsored by Anterix, I want to thank you, the listener, for tuning in for this month's edition. And if you do have any ideas of guests or topics you'd like for us to cover in future episodes of The Intersection, just pass those along to me. You can find all my contact information on the website, and I would love to hear from you. But until then, as we always do, we'll be back at it next month with another episode as we get into the summer season. And I hope that everyone will join us again each month as we travel through the intersection.
Thank you for meeting us at the intersection. For more information about the Utilities Technology Council, visit utc.org.